Ever felt like you're a fraud in your relationship? Like you're not good enough for your partner? If these thoughts sound familiar, you might be dealing with imposter syndrome. It's a psychological pattern where individuals doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent, often internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Imposter syndrome isn't just a personal struggle. It can significantly impact your relationships too. It might cause you to question your partner's love and commitment, leading to self-sabotaging behaviors and a fear of intimacy. It can create a barrier of self-doubt and insecurity that hinders you from fully enjoying the love and partnership you deserve. But here's the good news. Imposter syndrome can be addressed. It's not an insurmountable obstacle. Today, we're going to unravel this complex issue and provide you with some practical steps to overcome it. So get ready to embark on a journey towards a healthier, more fulfilling relationship with your partner and, importantly, with yourself. Imposter syndrome can manifest in relationships in very specific ways. It might appear as a nagging doubt, whispering in your ear that your partner will eventually discover you're not as great as they think you are. This fear can cause a strain, leading to behaviors that might unintentionally sabotage the relationship. For instance, you might find it difficult to trust your partner completely, not because they've given you a reason to doubt them, but because your imposter syndrome convinces you that you're not deserving of their love and commitment. You're constantly troubled by the thought that they might leave you for someone more deserving, someone better. Imposter syndrome can also trigger a fear of intimacy. You might be hesitant to let your partner see your vulnerabilities, terrified that they might perceive these as your shortcomings. You might avoid deeper, more intimate conversations, afraid that they might expose you as a fraud. Self-sabotaging behaviors are another common manifestation. To protect yourself from the anticipated pain of rejection, you might push your partner away or constantly undermine your worth. You might pick unnecessary fights, creating a distance, or belittle yourself, hoping that if you do it first, their potential criticism won't hurt as much. Perfectionism is another trait often associated with imposter syndrome. You might set unrealistic standards for yourself and your partner, believing that you need to be perfect to be deserving of love. This can put immense pressure on both you and your partner, straining the relationship. Recognizing these signs in your relationship is the first step towards overcoming imposter syndrome. By understanding how it can infiltrate your relationship, you can start to take measures to combat it. Remember, it's not about being perfect or meeting impossible standards. It's about understanding that you are enough, just as you are, and that you're deserving of love and happiness. After all, we're all perfectly imperfect in our own unique ways. If you've identified that you might be dealing with imposter syndrome in your relationship, the next step is to challenge those negative thoughts. Now, how do we go about doing that? Well, it's all about putting those negative thoughts under a microscope and examining them critically. It's about asking ourselves whether these thoughts are based on fact or if they're just products of our own imposter syndrome. One way to do this is by looking for evidence. If you find yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough for my partner," stop and ask yourself, what proof do I have of this? Is there any factual basis for this belief, or is it simply a product of your own self-doubt? It's important to remember that feelings aren't always facts. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean that it's objectively true. Another helpful strategy is to consider other perspectives. Try to imagine what a trusted friend, family member, or therapist would say about your thought. Would they agree with it, or would they challenge it? Sometimes it can be helpful to get an outside perspective, even if it's just a hypothetical one. Finally, try replacing your negative thought with a more realistic one. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough for my partner," you could think, "My partner loves me for who I am." Or, instead of thinking, "I'm going to mess this up," you could think, "I'm going to do my best and that's all anyone can ask of me." Remember, our thoughts have a big impact on how we feel and how we behave. By identifying and challenging our negative thoughts, we can start to break free from the grip of imposter syndrome. It's also important to remember that this is a process. It takes time and practice to change our thought patterns. So be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem. Challenging these thoughts is a fundamental step towards overcoming imposter syndrome. So let's keep moving forward, together, towards healthier, happier relationships. Building up your self-confidence and self-worth is crucial in overcoming imposter syndrome. A robust sense of self-worth is the antidote to the self-doubt that fuels imposter syndrome. So, how do you cultivate this? Let's dive into some practical tips. Firstly, identify your strengths and accomplishments. Take a moment to reflect on what you're good at, your unique skills and talents, and the things you've achieved. Write them down. And when imposter syndrome rears its head, remind yourself of these. This isn't just about big achievements. It's about recognizing the small, everyday things that make you who you are. Secondly, challenge negative self-talk. Self-criticism can be a tough habit to break, but it's a vital step. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "I don't deserve this," pause. Ask yourself if you would speak to a friend that way. The answer is probably no. So why talk to yourself like that? Replace those negative thoughts with more positive and realistic ones. Thirdly, surround yourself with supportive people. The people we associate with can greatly influence how we feel about ourselves. Spend time with those who uplift you, who appreciate your worth, and who encourage you to be the best version of yourself. Also consider seeking professional help if imposter syndrome is significantly affecting your life. Therapists and coaches can provide tools and strategies to help you navigate these feelings and build a healthier self-image. Remember, self-confidence and self-worth aren't built overnight. It takes time and consistent effort, but every step you take, however small, is progress. Imposter syndrome can make you feel like you're constantly on the brink of being exposed as a fraud. But the truth is, you are deserving of love, happiness, and success just as much as anyone else. You're not an imposter. You're a human being with strengths and weaknesses, successes and failures, just like everyone else. By building your self-confidence and self-worth, you're well on your way to overcoming imposter syndrome. To sum it all up, overcoming imposter syndrome in relationships involves a few key steps. Let's take a moment to recap what we've covered in this video. Firstly, we discussed the signs of imposter syndrome in relationships. This can show up as a difficulty in trusting your partner, fear of intimacy, self-sabotaging behaviors, and perfectionism. It's important to recognize these signs so you can begin to address them. Secondly, we explored the process of identifying and challenging negative thoughts. We learned that imposter syndrome often stems from negative thought patterns, and that challenging these thoughts is a crucial step towards overcoming it. This involves questioning the evidence for your thoughts, considering other perspectives, and replacing the negative thought with a more realistic one. Next, we highlighted the importance of building self-confidence and self-worth. We shared some tips for doing this, such as identifying your strengths and accomplishments, challenging your negative self-talk, and surrounding yourself with supportive people. Building up your self-confidence and self-worth is a powerful way to combat feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt. Remember, overcoming imposter syndrome is not a quick or easy process. It takes time, effort, and self-compassion. But with persistence, you can begin to shift your mindset, build up your self-confidence, and create healthier, happier relationships. In conclusion, imposter syndrome is a common issue that many people struggle with, especially in the context of relationships. But by recognizing the signs, challenging your negative thoughts, and building up your self-confidence, you can overcome it. Remember, you are deserving of love and happiness, and you are enough, just as you are. With time and effort, you can overcome imposter syndrome and create a healthier, happier relationship. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more tips on love, relationships, and heartbreak.